Well, good morning, everyone. Um, I will not be with you this week. I have injured my voice, and I thought that all of the coughing that you've been hearing me do over the last few weeks was just allergy related, but it was not. And you can hear my voice sounds a little bit different. Um, and so, sorry. And so I have to take a bit of a rest this week and next week with my vocal cords before we head back to school here pretty soon. Some of us head back to school here pretty soon. So I apologize for my absence, but I know that you're in good hands with Mr. Beebe. We were talking about Ralph Waldo Emerson last week, and I was telling you that he was connected to Henry David Thoreau and also Louisa May Alcott, who wrote Little Women. This whole crew of people were running around. I don't want to say running around, but they were all living together in Concord, Massachusetts, not together, but as a community. And Ralph Waldo Emerson, of course, I told you, was very famous in his lifetime. He brought German transcendental thinking to the Concord area, and transcendentalists, remember, believe in transcending, working to always become better, looking at your flaws and trying to better yourself and let those flaws go, being of service to your community, acting and following your moral compass. These people were all abolitionists, working to uh, get enslaved people out of the South and up north. Um, they were all people that were involved in their community in some way or willing to speak openly about philosophical concerns. Okay, and today we're looking at Henry David Thoreau, and he's an interesting character. 1817 to 1862, was born in Concord, Massachusetts, where he spent most of his life. After graduating from Harvard, so another Harvard, he became a teacher in 1841. And remember, I told you he was Louisa May Alcott's teacher, who wrote Little Women. Thoreau moved into the home of another famous Concord resident, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Emerson often helped him out, where he lived for 2 years. Fascinated by Emerson's transcendentalist ideas, Thoreau became Emerson's friend and disciple, meaning he looked up to him, as a mentor. Rather than return to teaching, he decided to devote his energies to living by his beliefs. The literary results of that decision include his masterwork, Walden, 1854. When Thoreau died at the age of 44, he had published little and received no public recognition. Emerson, however, knew that future generations would cherish his friend. Speaking at Thoreau's funeral, Emerson said, "The country knows not yet, or in the least part, how great a son it has lost. Wherever there is knowledge, wherever there is virtue, wherever there is beauty, he will find a home." And um, and he's right. And like I said to you in class, Henry David Thoreau goes on to inspire people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Mahatma Gandhi, people that become activists in their own right and try to transcend their flaws, private, personal flaws, to help with the greater good. It's that idea that nobody's perfect. None of us, not you, not me. Nobody's perfect. We make profound mistakes and we are all terribly flawed, but that we work on those flaws and we don't allow those flaws to stop us from being a powerful force in a community for change. And and I think that's brilliant. I really do. I think that's brilliant to know that we can all make a difference, every single individual person, individual. Okay. All right. So, from Walden by Henry David Thoreau, the background is from 1845 to 1847. Henry David Thoreau lived alone in a one-room cabin he built at Walden Pond near Concord, Massachusetts. This experience led him to write Walden, a blend of nature observation, social criticism, and philosophical insight. It remains one of the greatest examples of nature writing in American literature, and there is a genre for that. And it's for those of us that love nature, and many of you do, it becomes very, interesting. And when I look at this picture in the book, on page 215, so I just read about the author on 214, and I'm looking at 215 now. When I look at that, I want to tell you something that I've always thought that Long Beach should do. I think that they should build a little teacher's house like that in the El Dorado Nature Center. And I think they should have it so that every year a teacher, whether they teach math, science, writing, art, whatever, they can apply to live in the little house at the Nature Center for a year and be like, Henry David Thoreau, be in nature, live on our own version of Walden Pond, and that school children could come by this little house and visit, Monday through Friday, and this teacher could teach them about math or science or history or English or art or physical education or construction, whatever. But every time I read this, I think about that. Okay, so this week you're going to be, you've already read the About an Author with me. You're going to go ahead and read over the information on 214 to familiarize yourself with the concept vocabulary of From Walden and From Civil Disobedience. So you see that you're going to be reading two pieces. Walden is a longer piece. Civil Disobedience is the shorter piece. The piece Civil Disobedience is the one that is brought up all of the time with Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and it's often paired with Martin Luther King's letter to Birmingham jail. And so it's you always want to be aware of the people that inspired other people, artists, dancers, advocates, whoever that may be. Okay, so then you're going to be reading Walden 215. I'm just looking at the pictures through 222. And there's not this piece is about, you're going to notice when you look through this, there's places for notes, but you're going to see that it's not asking you any questions. Just reflect. Okay, reflect. Read it, annotate it, and reflect. Pick the things that stand out to you, not only as a scholar, but to you as what you love about nature or what you find interesting about what he believes. Okay? And then you're going to read From Civil Disobedience that starts on 223. And here's the background to this because it's very interesting. The Mexican War was a conflict between Mexico and the United States that took place from 1846 to 1848. The war was caused by a dispute over the boundary between Texas and Mexico, as well as by Mexico's refusal to discuss selling California and New Mexico to the United States. Believing that President Polk had intentionally provoked the conflict before gaining congressional approval, Thoreau and many other Americans strongly objected to the war. And we've seen this again and again and again. Okay, and I'm sure Mr. Slater and Ms. Braswell has talked about conscientious objectors to wars. Thoreau and many other Americans strongly objected to the war. Notice it says many other Americans, so this was not a popular decision. In protest, Thoreau refused to pay his taxes and was forced to spend a night in jail, which is why this is always tied to Martin Luther King's letter to Birmingham jail, and Martin Luther King ties back to Thoreau. Afterward, he wrote Civil Disobedience, urging people to resist government policies with which they disagree. And we see this all the time today. We've seen a lot of activism in the last year, okay? And, when you disagree with policies, there's lots of things that you can do. You can protest, like Thoreau did. He refused to pay the taxes that were going to contribute to something that he felt was morally unsound. Today we sign petitions, we donate to causes we believe in, we march, we have unions, and some of us, myself included, go into higher education so that we have our finger on the pulse of policies and that we can be part of the solution when we feel that policies are unjust or when we feel that curriculum needs to be, rewritten, those types of things. And so Thoreau was known for this. And this piece becomes this huge piece, okay, that inspires other people. Hang on, my screen just went off on my computer. There we go. Okay, so you're going to read that, and it's very short. So you've got one long one and you have one short one. So on the first one, remember, reflect on it, annotate, consider what you love in nature, and consider what you find interesting in what he says. And in on 223 from civil disobedience, the 2 pages that you're reading on that, consider how you are an advocate for what you believe in as you read this. And compass, community of musicians, performers, artists, and social scientists, giving our art to the community, giving back to the community. You are you are being advocates. You are doing what you need to do to make a difference in Long Beach. So you are hopefully transcending with your actions. And then you're going to do your comprehension check on page 225. You'll do 1 through 4 for Walden, and you'll do 1 through 4 for civil disobedience. You don't have to do the research. Please don't do that. And then do the close read the text on 226. Do analyze the text 1 through 3. And then do the concept vocabulary practice 1 through 3. Just the practice, not the word study. Okay? And then I want you to go to 227, and I want you to read that entire page, analyze craft and structure, because we're looking at point of view. And that's important right now because you're doing narrative. And this is narrative. Okay? This is his narrative. It's from his point of view. And your narrative is from your point of view. And remember, I've talked about that before, that your version of your personal story might be different from somebody else who was involved in it. This is your point of view. It's your perspective. You're adopting this perspective towards your situation or your set of issues, just like Thoreau. And then you're going to go ahead and do the practice questions. 1 through 4, and make sure you fill out your chart and make sure that I can read it and that it's nice and clean, whether you use print or you use cursive. Okay? Go ahead and do read everything on the conventions and style page, and do the read it. Do the read it, which is question number 1, and then do question number 2 and 3. You do not have to do the write it. Okay? And that's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do. Okay? And so you need to finish your rough draft narrative. You need to finish your Ralph Waldo Emerson if you're not done with Emerson. And then you need to make a dent in the Henry David Thoreau. Okay? And like I said, all work stops on Thursday. I want you to take a break. All right? You can hit this work when you come back, but I definitely want your rough draft done. And the last thing that I want to say to you is I want you to turn to page 145. I want you to turn to page 145 in your book right now. And I want you to look at this quick write. Some of you were struggling with ideas for your narratives, even though I shared my own narrative and talked to you about narrative. Some of you were struggling with that. So if you look back at this quick write on 145, the prompt says, what significant incident helped me realize that I am a unique individual? That's basically what you're doing right now in this narrative, okay? So if you read back to your quick writes in the book, that's narrative. That's your personal opinion. That's narrative. And that right there is narrative, okay? So you're probably looking at that prompt and going, yeah, but that doesn't match what we're doing. Yes, it does. What significant incident helped me realize that I am a unique individual? The significant incident for me was having food poisoning in front of Stephen. A significant incident doesn't have to be something huge. It can be a small event to everyone else, but it did something that seismically shifted the way I felt in my heart. Okay? So what significant incident helped me realize that I am a unique individual? That one. I'm a unique individual because I had struggled through a very hard marriage and divorce. That was unique to me. Doesn't mean that other people haven't had it happen to them. They have, but my situation was unique to me. And because of that, my heart was closed and I didn't want to let people in. And when I finally did decide to date, then I have this horrible incident happen in front of somebody that I was finally starting to care about. And my fear was to let this person see me vulnerable, struggling, ill. You know that even in the story, I try to push him away and make him go home, and he will not go home. And so by the end of my narrative essay to you, the last thing I say is that we vow, okay, which is always connected to, marriage, the word vow. It's connected to other things too, but it's very much so connected to marriage. So that we vowed to never eat the chicken tortilla soup again as long as we both shall live, which is also connected to marriage, which lets you know that this is a significant event because I'm considering spending the rest of my life with this person. Do you see? So you're choosing an event in your life where you were highly frustrated or highly angry or highly embarrassed or super funny. But there was something about that that was unique to you. Somebody in one of my classes said, "Oh, I've had this physical issue, my entire life. How does that fit into that?" Well, your physical issue is something that has made you one a unique individual, and I'm sure you've had significant events connected to it that have shown you that you are a unique individual. Me breaking my leg in 4 places when I was a little kid was a significant event, and it has made me unique. Um, because I'm strong. And I'm strong because I've spent my whole life since I was 1 year old fighting that pain. And so those are the things. So I could tell the story of me breaking the leg, and then, I could find a way to tie in this overall idea. So remember, when you're writing narrative, it's these small episodic um, moments in time that you're letting us in and we're relating to it. Okay. But you learned something from it. You learned something from it. So remember that. Okay. All right. I want you to have a wonderful week with Mr. Beebe. I want you to know that I'm thinking of you. Um, I will be checking emails sporadically, but you will notice that my automatic reply is on. I still get the emails, so I will check them. But know that there will be a delay, a delay. Okay. All right. I want you to have a wonderful week. I want you to be well. I want you to have a great spring break and come back fresh. And take care. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.